Hey everyone, welcome to the Recruitment Show. We are talking about all of the major topics that people are discussing right now. Everything recruiting, future of work, and everything in between. I've got guests from all over the world to come and share their perspective and their thoughts and feelings and all of that stuff on these key topics. It might not be politically correct. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's people's perspectives, and it's important to hear people's perspectives. I love storytelling, and I think one story can illuminate a million more and really increase our understanding of these topics. So sit back, whether you're watching live or after, grab a drink, take a seat, and enjoy.
Awesome, and we're live. Antoinette, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here, Lewis.
Absolute pleasure. Let me give you a little intro, and I love this topic. Is going to be great. Yes, I'm excited to deep dive into careers and choices and stuff. It really got me reflecting on when I was at school, and it asked me what I wanted to be. What do I want to be when I grow up? It's that classic question when you're growing up, isn't it? But let me give you a little intro. So Antoinette Oglethorpe, and you've, I believe, written a very cool book, which is the #1 bestseller on Amazon. There we go. Yes, there we go. Confident Career Conversations. So I see you've had an earlier career in leadership development and then set up your own business. So it'd actually be quite cool to hear why on earth you decided to move from employment to entrepreneurship, which we can maybe discuss as well. And you have your own consulting firm. So exec coach, mentor, author, and fellow Islington resident back in the day. I've just found out. Right. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Welcome. Pleasure. I wanted to kick off with career choice, because I was reflecting on this when I was preparing for the podcast, and I kind of made a joke about it earlier. But when I was at school, it was quite classic, and I was at school kind of. I left school in '99. So I was like 1992 to 99, went to university and stuff like that. And I remember like that back in those days, it was predominantly like you pick a corporate career almost. It was like, I just remember the questions and the advice, and it was, corporate career, go to an accounting firm, go to a bank, be a doctor, be a lawyer. I'm from a Jewish family. You kind of have to pick doctor, lawyer, something or other like that, accountants or whatever. I went into entrepreneurship, did something completely different. It was completely against the grain. But how have you seen things change that, like, over the last, say, 20, 25 years?
Yeah, I think very much the way you've described, actually. I mean, I left school quite a bit before you. Even in my day, you were under that pressure as well, go into the corporate career. But it was around 20 or 30 years ago that the corporate career changed. So historically, the corporate career was literally the ladder that you climbed, and you had a job for life, and you climbed each rung of the ladder, and then you left with your gold watch. And then around the kind of 80s and 90s, everything started shifting. People started downsizing. The organizations got flatter. Ladders these days, if they still exist, and they do in some, they're harder to see and tougher to climb. The rungs are much further apart. Lots of are broken, as it were. So now it's much more around, navigating for yourself around different landscapes. And part of that has been this move to a business shift to more entrepreneurial environment, more portfolio careers, to more gig economy. And I think that's great, because I believe very firmly that career development is not all about promotions and pay rises. It's actually about employability and enjoyability. How can you make your 81,396 hours that you work in your lifetime as enjoyable and rewarding as possible? And while doing that, continue to develop your skills and capability so that you can be more value in your current role or working life, and whatever you might choose to do in the future, or might be needed to do in the future. Because with the world changing as rapidly as it does, the skills we need are also rapidly changing.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack there, Antoinette. If we go back to this kind of like classic, employment, career, going up the ladder, I think it's interesting because I also speak with a lot of young folks, and it's still, I'd say it's still the case now. Like, you finish school, if you go to university, you finish university, and a lot of the time you're kind of just told what to do, right? Like, you do your GCs, you do your A-levels, or you go into a apprenticeship, or you kind of like, suddenly you get into the real world. It's not quite like that, and I still think a lot of young people, they don't have quite the guidance maybe, or the correct advice, because a lot of people, they feel like they should get into something like, a big listed company, or being an accountant and stuff. It's quite easy to, I don't know, it's easy to I think it's probably easier to do than say, hey, I'm going to go set up my own business. Sure. Like, it's quite a daunting thing. I think nowadays though, I think there's more there's more online now. Like, it's super cool to be an entrepreneur. Like, it's the modern day rock star, probably, right? And you can see more role models. Like, you can jump on Instagram and you can see how someone's made $1 billion by 25, and you're like, oh my God, I want to do that. So, you can see it changing a little. It's still mentally very difficult for a young person to just go try different things, which is, for me, the correct path. Like, just go try stuff.
Yeah, the point about the education, I think it's very interesting, because I hear a lot of paradoxes. On the one hand, you hear that Gen Zs do not want to be pigeonholed, and they don't want to be told what to do. They want that freedom that you're talking about. Then on the other hand, I hear lots of organizations saying our people are looking for career paths. And I kind of like, what is this? Which of these is right? Clearly it's both. But I think part of it is that education system. So people are used to having very clear indicators of success. Every year you pass exams and you effectively get promoted and go up to the next year in school. Then you go to university, big promotion. You pass your exams every year. You go up a year to get promoted. And then at the end, you do big exams and you get promoted to having this title with letters after your name. Really, really visible signs of achievement and progress that you can, your parents can boast about, and all the rest of it. And then you come into the world of work, and people are looking for, what are my visible signs of progress? And they know it as a change in job title, a change in status, a change in salary. And actually, we have to change our definition of success, and also see other signs of progress. And for those that go into entrepreneurialism, they know that, because those signs of progress don't come with a change in title. Stephen Bartlett has probably had the same job title for decades. He's CEO. But that doesn't mean to say he hasn't progressed and achieved lots of different things. So that's why I feel we really have to separate out career progression from this notion that it's all about grades and job titles.
Yeah. I think there's also it's different in different parts of your career. And I also think it's an and game, right? Not an all game. Because some people, they want the structure. They want to be able to come in. They want to be an employee. It suits them. It suits their personality, and that's cool. I think it's different things for different people. I think for me, it's like I've got 3 kids. I'm trying to teach them that it's cool to try stuff. We're going to be working for. We live to 100, let's say, right? Probably working for 80% of that time, let's say, and you're going to end up having a bunch of different careers in your life. There's a really cool book called The 100-Year Working Life, and the kind of premise is you end up having like 3 careers, right? 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, or whatever. So I think if you were like in your 20s, that I think you feel the pressure, like, oh my God, I need to decide what I want to do with the rest of my life. No, you don't.
Absolutely.
In your 30s, even, like, still, I mean, I set up my business in kind of my late 20s, which is quite early. Like most people start a business in their 40s, I think. So I think for me, it's just about having patience, and which is hard to have when you're young. I think it's quite daunting not knowing what you want to do, because so many people say, like, what do you want to do? Pick a career. And it's really hard to be like, actually, like, I'm just going to try a few things. It's mentally a pretty difficult thing, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think a lot of it is about learning about yourself and learning who you are. That is different. And again, you might have a whole class that all have the same credentials. They've all got the same certificates or the same degree or the same A level, but they're all radically different. And so, 3 people that all did the same A level, say, will have different interests when it comes to the world of work. And as you say, a lot of it is about learning about that and developing those insights, that self-awareness. I often say I've made a career out of managing my career, because I got it wrong a lot at the beginning. And I'm delighted to hear you encourage your children to have freedom, because part of mine was around parental expectation. So I said my dad was a GP in Islington.
Yes.
Yes. Well, funnily enough, I started a medical degree. And I never really wanted to be a doctor. That was not a good idea. And I ended up graduating in physiology, which is a medical science. And then I joined Procter & Gamble, and I developed washing powders. What?
Yeah. Important stuff.
Funnily enough, 4.5 years later, I decided I was more interested in people than washing powders. And as a result, I took voluntary redundancy. And actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because as a result of that, P&G are an excellent company, and I got outplacement support, and I got a career coach. And I had some powerful career conversations that helped me realize, who I was, what I enjoyed, what I valued. And I moved into training and development on the back of that. And that was where my passion for career conversations started, because I thought, gosh, why do people only get this support when they leave an organization, rather than to help them stay and develop within the organization? So I've been on a campaign ever since, and that was 1994, so it's quite a long time ago, and to bring career conversations into organizations.
I love that. I mean, it's a great story. And I think, I think for me, it was interesting because my parents didn't push me into something. Like my report card at school was always the same. Could do better. I could have done better at school. I could have put more effort in. My grades were average. I was never going to get into a big bank. I was never, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I did chemistry at university, loved science, didn't want to go into it afterwards. I enjoy like conversation and sales and business, and and I set up my own business after university, selling clothes in Italy. So I was an agent in the UK. I signed up some British brands, and we sold their clothes in Italy. It was incredible. It was just interesting to think back. I mean, there weren't many entrepreneurial role models when I was growing up. Like my dad worked at the same firm for 37 years. I think he got the gold watch. Like most of the people around me, like the older folks, they were all employed. And it was my cousin James. He was a ladies' wear designer, and he built his own business. And like I saw him, and we used to have Friday night dinners, every Friday, and just hear the stories around the dinner table and stuff. And that kind of gave me, that was like, oh, actually, that'd be great to build my own thing. And that's kind of how I You know, if I didn't have that, I you know, if you can't see other people doing it, it's hard to imagine yourself doing it, I think, at that age, you know, and maybe you
Absolutely.
only learn later.
And that's why, I mean, the other thing that I'm passionate about, which is to do with career development, is mentoring. And actually people having different mentors, and, for young folk, to get that work experience, all those conversations with people that do different kinds of roles that they then can try and explore and find out more about. And I think schools are much better at that these days, from what I hear. I don't actually have children myself. But yeah, I don't remember anyone coming into my school and talking about, you know, anything. But there was one path, and there was one path only, which was you go to university and you get a good degree, and then you go to the milk round and you get a blue chip job, or a profession.
Yeah.
So I think actually, some schools at least are doing a much better job in showing that array of different career options.
Yeah, I think it started it. What about people kind of later on in their career? Because it's people, lots of leaders, lots of people that are trying to get their first leadership role, or even just trying to transition and pivot. And you talked about enjoyability and employability, right? Employability and enjoyability. And I think later on in life, people struggle with it too. Don't they? You've got bills to pay. Economics plays a part. A lot of people, they kind of get stuck in a job that they don't enjoy. They're doing it for the paycheck. It's really hard to, it's hard to leave. Like, what are you kind of like from your conversations you have and stuff? Are you finding the same? What's the kind of advice and so forth?
I mean, there's always going to be a diversity of that. There'll always be people that are stuck. There's a bunch of people that specialize in career transition, either because people have been made redundant or they want to make a career change to do something that is more rewarding. And then there's equally, that people that are trying to progress their career in whatever way. And one of the things, the advice I give both managers and employees is, firstly, employees to understand the dynamics in an organization. There is no manager in any organization, unless they are the owner of the organization, that can just give someone a promotion or give someone a pay rise, because it's not just about your individual performance. Again, coming back to school and university, as long as you work hard and you do a great job, you get the grades.
Yeah.
In work, yes, it's partly about your performance, it's partly about your potential, but it's also about what's going on in the external market, the economy at large. What's going on in the organisation? What's happening with the budget? What's happening with the headcount? What's happening if you leave your role? Who's going to do it? How is that going to affect? So there's an awful lot more factors than just that individual. And so them understanding that, and then not painting their manager into a corner saying, I want to be promoted, and if you don't promote me by, I'm leaving. So the manager actually can't do anything with that. Whereas if they really get underneath the surface and think about why they want to be promoted, now part of it might just be money, fair enough. And again, there will be a real limit to whether that can actually be met or not. But if it's that you want more responsibility, you want more opportunity to behave at a strategic level, you want more understanding of the politics, you want a wider vision. If you describe all those things that you're looking for, that opens up all sorts of possibilities. Every manager has too much to do. So if you say you want more responsibility, they can give you, more to do. They can change your role, maybe take off some of the things you don't like, give you some more of the things you do like. They can coach you, they can take you into meetings. And then all of that then builds your employability. Yes. So that when that promotion opportunity does come up, A, you've tried it out, or you've tried out some of the elements that will be involved. B, you've shown an interest. C, you've developed the skills, so you're more capable of doing that role. And D, you've got the evidence that you can, contribute in that way. Because when you do eventually get promoted, a company will only do that if they think it's not going to be a huge risk to the organization.
Yeah, love that.
So, that's what I really encourage people to do. Don't paint your manager into a corner.
Can I take it one step further? I think it's great. I think the theme there is take ownership, right? Like be proactive. And I think for me, I did a great podcast with a lady called Deetra Giles. She's in the US, an exec coach, and she got this wonderful phrase. I'd love to claim it for myself, but it's not mine. Employeepreneur. And I think this is great. And the premise is like taking ownership, right? Like be the CEO of your life. And if you're looking, you want to get that promotion, you want to get that next level, go to your manager and say, like, what keeps you up at night? Like, give it to me. Like, let me take that on for you. Like be dependable, be reliable, work hard, be there for your manager, be there for your team. Like if you do those things, they're the things that you can control. Things you can't control is like, the economy is dreadful. God knows what's going on in the world. Your firm's had to make redundancies. They haven't had a good year, so don't go ask for a pay rise if your colleagues are being made redundant. They're just kind of like stuff out of your control. But the things that you can do, like the things that you described, it just puts you in a great position. Because you're right. Like, if people think about this consciously or not, when they're going to promote someone internally, you're right. They don't want to take a perceived risk. And if you've made yourself valuable, I mean, people would rather promote internally than go outside. So,
absolutely. And you're right. Be helpful. Because managers, they want to be good managers. I know there will be plenty of people who think they've got not good managers. The managers I speak to want to be good managers. They're nervous about talking to people about their careers because they're worried that they won't have the answers to the questions that people are going to ask them. And you can understand why they're worried. And therefore, they just don't talk to them about it, which is equally not helpful, because not talking to people about it doesn't mean that they're, going to think any differently.
And again, and it's hard. It's hard, right? I mean, like, if you're put yourself in a manager's shoes, like doing this, speaking to like thousands of people watching this, is actually easier than having a one-on-one with someone that you really know about your career. Like it's hard, right? Like it's hard to have these candid conversations with people. So like if you're a manager and you're like, I'd really like to try and develop these people, but have the conversations, and people appreciate it. And once you've started, a few minutes in, I mean, it's wonderful, right? Because you're all on the same page, on the same team, trying to get to the same, it's a good thing to do.
And that again, back on my soapbox, that's why managers need training in how to have these conversations. We wouldn't expect them to have performance conversations without training them. And career conversations come under that same bracket of challenging conversations. That's why I wrote the book, because I believe, you don't necessarily need to have all the answers, because you won't have all the answers. You need to have the right questions. And that's what's in the book, is a set of tools and questions to help managers have those conversations, as well as be able to respond to some of the things that they're going to deal with, some of those challenges, like my employee thinks they walk on water and I don't think they're really there yet, or I think my employee is fantastic and they don't want to progress. What about the promotion and pay rise question? How do I deal with that? Yes, they're challenging. They're also a combination of both personal and professional, because career conversations are quite holistic, really. Our career is not in a little box separate to the rest of our lives. It impacts on other things. But while there are tools and questions to make that easier.
No, I love that. Can we? I want to kind of zoom in a bit on enjoyment and pay, like happiness and pay, things like that, because we as in like the royal we, there's a lot online about, and I talk about a lot, like importance of being happy at work. And I think if you then take it like down and speak to people, Like, if you are happy at work and enjoying what you do, like, you really, count yourself, be really grateful, because there's many people that not. They just can't quite, they can't quite find what it is, their passion, their happiness, the enjoyment. They get stuck in it. They're doing it for the paycheck. I actually speak with, and this might or might not be surprising, but there's many people I speak with that will take a pay cut for more happiness. Like they really don't like what they're doing. And if they find that, so it's a real, like, it's a balance, right? What would you suggest people do? Like, they're in that kind of scenario where, like, do they follow like a side hustle and go and do their passion, or they can't quite find it? There's a lot of pressure. There's just a whole lot of grey.
It's all about people's values and priorities, really. Especially at a certain age, people are wealth building because they're trying to get on the property ladder, or they're trying to they're about to start a family. At that point, then salary might be the most important thing, and therefore, although it might be at the expense of my personal satisfaction and fulfillment, that's what I'm going to do because I'm doing it for my family or whatever. And that's why I think you see at kind of later stages in careers, when people are settled and they've got that sorted, that pay then becomes less of a priority.
Good choice.
Because some people, pay will always be for them an indicator of their self-worth, and that will always be it. But others, they will have a threshold of salary that they need for their lifestyle, and once that's satisfied, then it's much more around their work-life balance, their personal fulfillment, and their contribution to the world. I mean, there's very, very few people work for a charity where money is the number one thing for them. So, to me, it comes down to understand each individual understanding what's important to them in the world of work and their work values, and those change depending what else is going on in your life. And when I work with people, I say that let's build a wish list of criteria. Let's imagine your perfect job. What would you be doing? Where would you be working? How much would you be being paid? What will be going on around the edges? And then let's put that in an order of priority. If you can only have one of these things, what's it going to be? Okay, if you can have only one other of these things, what's it going to be? Because otherwise, it's also quite hard to evaluate different opportunities, because you're comparing apples and oranges and bananas. It's like, well, they all look great. If you've got this wish list, a prioritized wish list that you're then evaluating those opportunities against, then you can think more about, okay, what's right for me just now. But as you mentioned earlier, just now is just now. It's not necessarily forever.
No, it's not forever. And it's great. It's a great point. And that's why actually in your 20s and 30s, like, go try stuff. I think it's so important. I tried a bunch of different things. Like I mentioned earlier, I set my own business. I worked for a manufacturer in fashion as well. Then I went into recruiting. Then I set up my own recruiting business. So I've done a few different things. But actually, if I look at my social circle, I was like no one else had done that at the beginning. Like, they'd all, by and large, people went and got a job, kind of thing. And it was fairly brave. Maybe it was just because I wanted to be like, look what I managed to do to all the naysayers, right? Because actually in the UK, a lot of the time, it's a bit embarrassing to fail, and like when I set up my business, I was like talking about setting it up, and most people I heard, they were like, what's going to, if it doesn't work out, what are you going to do? And it was just like all these people were like, and then I spoke with some American family, and they were like, what's the worst that can happen? And you're like, oh, I'll just get another job. It's funny how this dialogue, and I think it's slowly starting to change, but there's still these mental things, whether it's, to your point about like this external validation of a job title, or the levels and stuff you get. Because you see that a lot. If someone's got into a large company and they've been in large companies their whole career, progression is signified by the job title and stuff like that, to your earlier point. I think for me, and I think you agree, it's for me, it's the learning. I think money comes, like it does come early on, like just take the learnings. I mean, this is a bit cheesy and corny, but I think, I think it's true. Is often actually learn more from the manager or the leader that you work with early on than the actual job you do. Like I think there's real value in who you're working with. And actually maybe you're picking a job because you really want to work with Antoinette, and you're gonna like the learning you're gonna get in like 2 years working with you trumps like, whatever else.
And the dynamics of the organisation, the politics that go, inside all organisations is, that's the first thing anyone learns when they start a new job. Is not necessarily the job, but that organisation, its culture, its politics. As said, the people you can learn from, not just your manager, but also your colleagues and peers.
Yeah, how to turn up, what to say in an interview or a video call, or do you wear a tie? Do you not? I mean, it's a whole minefield. And I think because we're in this post-COVID era, for those that were in university during COVID and now going into work post-COVID, it's quite an interesting dynamic, and quite tough for them. And then we've got this whole, hybrid work or not hybrid work. Well, if everyone's still at home, then, how do they get seen? Because from a career development point of view, you can't do it on your own. You have to influence other people in order to create and be given opportunities. And if everyone's seeing you, then they're not going to get a perception of what you're capable of or what your potential is. And it's not enough for it to just be your manager. It needs to be outside of that. So I really, we all love the hybrid thing. We love the fact that we can have a bit more work-life balance and flexibility. But I really encourage people to, go into the office where others are there. No. I mean, I'm all over that. I mean, I think depending on what size company you're in and things like that, but I think if you're in a firm where there's an office and people are there and there's value in being seen and stuff, like absolutely. Like I think if you look around at the most successful people around in your company that in the world, like they're working really hard. Not to say you don't work hard at home, so don't misquote me on that. But I think it's these relationships, like having conversations with people, building relationships. That's probably what's going to get you to the next step. I think the other interesting thing I'm hearing now is like there's actually a lot of people that have been working for a while, midway through their career, whatever, who know how to do it and stuff like that, actually really happy at home and they're not going in a huge amount. And it's actually the young folks. I know there's a lot of conversation about young folks want to work at home, but I would not say that that's actually true. It's quite hard for them to get the training if their managers aren't going in. They'd really just, he's not craving for learning, they want to get developed and stuff. I think it's a real balance. I think managers and leaders need to, it's difficult to train and mentor and develop people if you're not seeing them.
Absolutely. I also think that during COVID, managers and leaders made a big effort to connect with their people outside of just operational catch up. They connected with them person to person. How are you? Who are you? What's going on for you? And post COVID, I think that's died away. Yet the environment hasn't changed. There's still that distance. And I think managers and leaders need to, if you are working in a hybrid environment, you need to really make a conscious effort to connect on a person-to-person basis. Yes, ideally in person, and now we have the opportunity, but if not, then at least kind of online, and not just to catch up on have you done that project or that spreadsheet or what's going on with that, but actually on a person-to-person level.
Yeah. I mean, we're humans. We crave like connection and stuff, right? And you might be in a completely fully remote organization. My company is fully remote. We're global. We do loads of stuff online. We do meetups and things like that. But, whatever kind of structure you have, like we're just craving connection and stuff. And that's actually to your kind of enjoyability and happiness point. It's the culture. It's like, the job's the job, right? And who you do it with makes a real difference. That increases your happiness and enjoyment. And for me, I say this all the time, but I've made a career out of trying to poach people from companies, like we headhunt people, and happy people are way harder to move than people who aren't happy. And a big part of the happiness thing is this, like, is the human connections that people have that they've built within a company. Like if they're happy, they enjoy their leader's awesome, the team are great. It's for a few extra, 1,000 or whatever, it's hard to move. So massive value in that.
And absolutely, and that's exactly why I talk to managers and organisations about doing what's needed to retain and engage people, because actually in some organisations it's easier for people to manage their career by leaving and going somewhere else, because people like you are making it really easy for them. You're tapping them on the shoulder and going, hey, come here, we'll give you the opportunity. Whereas if they feel that they're valued and progressing in their organisation, being given development opportunities, being given mentoring, then they, as you say, they're going to be less enticed.
Yeah. And it's either headhunters like me, or jumping on LinkedIn and looking at a job ad, or the information nowadays is so readily available that you know what your competitors are paying. You know what you could be earning in another company. You can see job ads. You've got pay transparency rules coming. You can see, it's already in some states in the US. Interestingly, here, if people don't know, they have the European pay directives coming in a few years, where companies will have to publish pay ranges on job ads. So massive change, right? And so suddenly you're like, hold on a sec. I've been in this company for 10 years and I'm earning less than the bottom of the pay range that you've just advertised. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff coming. And I think also there's real value in developing your team, your current employees. Like it's value, and they're going to get poached, and but I think it's, maybe even more important now, like people won't just accept being hit over the head with a paycheck. They have options. They might do the gig economy. They might start their own business. They want a portfolio career. They go to a company. There's a lot of options for people now. So you're gonna have to work hard on it.
Yeah. And find out what success for them looks like, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. That's a good place to end, Antoinette. I think we've covered a lot. Thank you so much. How can people get your book?
Well, it's available on Amazon. Competent Career Conversations by Antoinette Oglethorpe, and kind of major bestsellers, I suppose. And also on our website, so www.antoinetteoglethorpe.com. There's only one Antoinette Oglethorpe. You Google that name, you will find me all over the place. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn. There's a free chapter that you can download off our website, or that I can send you, so that you can try it out, see if you think it'll meet your needs. Lots of different
Love
ways.
It. Thank you so much, Antoinette. Really good to have you on, and speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Lewis. It's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to subscribe in all the usual places: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you like to watch or listen to a podcast. Any comments or feedback, please drop us a DM. If you've got anything that you want us to discuss, again, feel free to get in touch. Have a wonderful day.